Then we'll work into like a fourth quarter, try to work in some situations there, have officials try to just move the ball, throw fouls down. Obviously, that was something, in the last game wasn't pleased with, and certainly want that as often as we can. Cliff and Joe are the head coaches, and we also split coaches and staff members, and so they'll all be on opposite sides, so a lot of fun with that. But it'll be a fun day. It's good. And then we have about 9 players out. I told you to give you that update for the scrimmage today at offensive line. Sam and Brandon Coleman, at wide receiver Noah and Terry, quarterback Marcus, linebacker Jordan McGee, DN Javante Jean-Baptiste, and 2 corners, Jonathan Jones and Bobby Price. So those 9 you won't see out today, but everybody else will be going, and should be a good day to get the whole thing rocking. We're excited to see different things and people in different spots. There's leading that goes with that too, and so we're all excited for that.
2 receiver questions. First is on Debo. You guys have said he's come in, he's looked in great shape. His connection with Jaden seems to be pretty good. What is the key for him in sustaining this, and what have you seen from him just mentally and that willingness to take on that challenge? Yeah,
it's a good question. I think he is in great shape. That was the one, I think, first that you could tell he really put the work in physically, but also from the neck up, learn a new system, being in different ones. It is different, than the system that he has been a part of. So I thought he really worked hard on that part. Maybe a silver lining is the extra time that he has now with Jaden. And so sometimes when, Noah and Terry aren't there and he gets more, sometimes there's unintended consequences that can take place that you see that's good. And I think that may be one of those that you're probably seeing now, Nikki.
The other one is just an update on Terry. He's been on PUP with the ankle injury. Where does he stand with everything?
Yeah, I don't have any big updates for you on that. As far as timelines go, the guys have an off day tomorrow, and then as we were working into, the practices prior to next game on Monday night, maybe I can give you some insights then, but no updates to share with you today.
Dan, good morning. To kind of follow up on Nikki's question there, and apologize if this is probably more of an Adam question, but you're in the building, you're around. What is your level of optimism and/or concern about where things stand with Terry?
Yeah, look, you want everybody as the coach out on the field at every practice, at every game. I also know that that's not reality either, and so I just try to make sure, man, just keep pouring into the guys, keep digging into it. But I know it is, part of our game where, you don't have everybody all the time. It does, in some ways, there's contingencies. How do you work? How do you feature guys? And so I was kind of referring to Debo, maybe getting more connection time to go. But as far as where I'm at, I also I'm aware things happen, and you adjust. And that's kind of what coaching is, and you don't have your full roster all the time, and you put yourself into those spaces pretty regularly. And then when those come up, you feel more normal doing that. When everything's healthy, you have to force it. When the injuries and things come up during this time of year, it happens naturally. Okay, let's feature it. Let's see what happens. And I like doing that too.
And with Cliff and Joe being the coaches today, Cliff obviously got some attention for being a potential head coach last year.
Yep.
For Joe, though, you've been with him for a while. What are the traits that you see in him that make him a potential future head coach?
Yeah, I think one thing from head coaching, very clear on expectations, very clear on, identity and how to do things. And he's very organized, very detailed. So those are big parts of the job, when you're putting the whole group together, and identity and standards and, no gray about how you want to do things. And so for Joe, growing up as a coach's kid, dad, linebacker coach for years, is tough as hell. And so he's very clear on standards and expectations. And I think that carries over to your team because, although the players, their roles may be different, the standards and the expectations of how you do things are the same.
Hey, Coach, I'm sure you've answered this question a million times, so I'm going to ask you.
So we're going to go 1,000,001?
Okay.
All right. So you're saying we got a chance. All right.
Bring it. What are the main areas of growth where you're really looking at Jaden this second year, as opposed to things that he might have done well last year, but just being better at this year?
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of things. He's really on it. I mean, we know this. We've talked about work ethic. We've talked about those. Now you see other levels of making others better. This is what I saw. This is the correct spot, a change of a protection. So now he's able to, like help develop others and help them fulfill what they can be. And so that's a big deal. And that comes with like communication, experience, feedback. You're not quite able to do that, your first, day on the job, but you gain street cred by your performance, by the things that you do, and then like people trust him. And so, hey man, this is what I see, this is where the ball would go. And as a teammate, okay, you want to hear that information because that's giving you feedback. This is what I need to do to help you in this spot. So that's what I'd see, just him compounding and making others better just by his communication, the way he's leading. So those would be some of the things that I've noticed so far.
How intentional were you with kind of splitting up the burgundy and gold teams today? And how much input did Cliff and Joe have in the guys that they were working with?
We did a lot to split them to, find some balance back and forth. And Adam and his staff also were a big part of this last 2 days as well of are there any late trades and going through processes. So we've really dug in to find ways to level people up, from the coaching and support and personnel for all of our jobs. Like none of us were ready for that one. And you just go and you figure it out and you get there. And this is a byproduct of that. And it's a lot of fun to go through that. But as far as the personnel-wise, we kind of did that for them, and then they did the staff and how they would split up people. So it's been a lot of fun.
Morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Obviously, for rookies, it's never an easy transition going from college to pro ball. And for these first 3 weeks, sometimes your head could be spinning, and there's a lot of stuff going on for a rookie to kind of take in.
Sure.
Collectively, as a group, this rookie class, what's impressed you, and how do you think they've done so far, kind of 3 weeks into this thing?
I thought they put a lot of work in, them and the assistants, during the off season, leading up to camp, knowing that, man, we have to get this knowledge down so when you do get to camp, there's not the thinking and you can just rely on the system and get better at your skills. So it's a very mature group, guys that really put it in. We've been encouraged by that. It's a smaller group, so they've probably got more individualized attention and customized for them with 15 rookies. Usually it's, anywhere probably between that number and 25 or so. So with a smaller group, I think they've had good mentors. They've had, good coaching, and now they're gaining confidence. There's definitely days that go good and others that don't, but that's also part of it. And I want to see, the resilience to come back from the days that aren't. But what I've seen so far is guys that know what they're doing. They're prepared. They're ready to go put their best foot forward. And that's why these practices where coaches are off to the side, man, like they have to demonstrate what they know, how they can communicate, and knowing that, like, when it's your turn to lead, like, do it. That's your communication. That's your call. So don't wait. You got to go take it.
Talk about the silver lining with Debo and the receivers. How much have you learned about the other receivers, too, good and bad, because Terry and Noah haven't been out there?
Yeah, that is it. And there's these opportunities that come up. And we were just kind of talking about, some of the rookies. And the two rookie receivers have done a nice job of knowing what to do, how to do it. They've played outside, a little bit inside, but mostly on the outside. And so I've been encouraged by what I've seen. I mean, let's face it, getting trained by Bobby and Andre, that's a pretty good setup, for guys coming in to show what they can do. So I'm encouraged. I want to see more. How we would feature people in different ways, like that's part of coaching. I think the best can figure out ways to do that, but I'm excited. I want to see more.
Last year, talked a lot. We're asking a lot about the number 2 receiver. Who would it be and all that. How do you feel about this group overall at this point and going into the season?
Yeah, Jalen's been one that I've been impressed with in the slot. He's been somebody that I've seen in that role, and I've seen Debo in that side. You've seen Debo move outside some, so I like what I'm seeing from those two. Obviously, like Noah and Terry, like they're making progress to come back, but having those guys get more, John, there is a good unintended consequence of that. So I'm excited to see more of that, quite honestly. As far as a 2 in that way, how we feature Debo inside, you know, Terry and Noah more outside. Do we move guys around? Yeah. But I'm excited to see, you know, Debo some outside, Jalen some outside. I've seen them more in the slot, and they're doing a nice job. But, you know, that it's a fun part to go through to say, and what else? And so you don't want to overload somebody, but you do want to find out.
Zach Ertz said yesterday to me that you were a rare breed in that you're giving your assistant coaches this opportunity to do this. He thought a lot of coaches have a lot of ego and don't want to go down that road. Where does that come from for you?
I think at the core, if you're a developmental coach, then you also want to develop the staff and give them chances to level up and to do things. I'd asked one of the coaches yesterday, you know, who was into the coordinator role. I said, what was different? I had to make the cards right. I had to make this right, and had to organize the walkthrough. So maybe also, Chick, it gives some regard and appreciation for the next role, you know, to what that could look like. But I think if we're going to say we're going to develop players, like, it starts with coaches first, and that starts with me. And I think if we rise the tide of the coaches and get them better, then of course that's going to filter down to the players. So I think of us as a developmental team, not just with players, but with coaches too. The fun part of coaching, one of the fun parts, there's a lot of them, is the game changes, and you keep adjusting, and you keep growing, and you keep learning and finding out new ways to do it. If I would, you know, the way that, you know, from my years in the NFL, how it started to even like a training camp, it's so different. You know this. And so the adaptation, the, you know, seeing what's different, how to feature players differently, like, it's all fun to do that. So I think I appreciate Zach recognizing it, but I think of the coaches as developmental too, to say, can we get better at this spot? And all of us have some things to work on, coaches and players. But the 2 days like this gives new space to do, you know, different things.
Dan, I think you said yesterday that since Cliff and Joe will be the coaches, that there'll be different people calling plays.
Correct.
Who did you choose on that, and why did you choose that? And what does it mean to call plays in this situation?
Yep, Tavita and Brian Johnson will be calling on offense, and on the defensive side, Jason Simmons and Tom Donatel. And so next year there'll be some different ones. Next year, different ones after that. And so I like just different roles, different spots, just to give new perspective, Ben, onto things, and maybe a different seat, a different view, a different lens of the position. But those four will be the play callers today, and then Joe and Cliff will, okay, it's fourth down, are we going? Which Cliff is probably going to go. And then it's, you know, are we going to punt or kick the field goal? And Joe will probably punt or, you know, due to that. So let's put them into those spaces, man, and like, feel those, call timeouts, you know, do the normal stuff. Obviously, Cliff's got plenty of experience doing that. But the exercise of going through it all, it's important.
Just to go back to Terry for a quick sec, we haven't seen him for a couple of days. Has he still been with you guys?
Yes.
Every day, and is he still meeting with the training staff every day? And
Correct. Yep. All of it. All right. We'll allow one more because Ben took two. Going once.
What are you looking forward to most today?
I am looking forward to seeing, like, the energy. Like, I felt this energy from the coaches. They were in these new spots and leaving last night. I really all summer was thinking about, all right, how am I going to do this block that was longer? And I was just thinking the players. And then last night it was so much fun to see the coaches having their own meetings, doing things, putting tape together, going through. So to see the excitement from them, that was probably what I was most excited for. And then at practice, I'm always looking for, like, execution. I'm looking for communication. I want to be sharp. I want to be crisp. I want to be taking care of the ball, the things that I look for in every practice. But I'm most excited because it was fun to see the coaches in some different spots. All right, thanks, everybody.